You know what your biggest weakness is? You feel too much. That's it. Simple. That's the poison that's been eating you from the inside out. You feel everything. Every word, every silence, every shift in someone's tone. You carry emotions like they're chains, not knowing that every ounce of care you give away is a blade they're gonna use to stab you when you're down. That's how this world works. But you keep trying to pretend it's softer than it is. You keep hoping they'll see your kindness and protect it. But they won't. They'll step on it. And the worst part, you'll let them. Because you're scared. Scared to be cold. Scared to let go. Scared to harden up and stand alone. But listen to me closely. If you want peace, if you want power, if you want to stop bleeding every time someone changes their mood, you need to be cold. People will call it heartless. Let them. They'll say, you've changed. Good. That means the mask is slipping, and they're starting to see the version of you that doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't fold. And trust me, that version, that's the one that survives. That's the one that doesn't get torn apart every time someone walks out or lies. You want to keep being soft in a world this sharp, you'll keep bleeding. But if you want to stop being a puppet in their games, you need to burn the strings. Be cold. That doesn't mean you turn into a monster. It means you stop being everyone's fool. It means you protect your heart like it's a vault, not a donation box. You think people are gonna love you more because you're always available? No, they love distance. They love the ones who don't need them. That's the twisted part. The more you beg, the less you matter. The more you give, the less they respect. Be cold. Let them wonder where your warmth went. Let them miss it. Let them earn it. That's power. That's control. And it ain't about revenge or playing games. It's about knowing your worth and making damn sure they know it too. You teach people how to treat you. And right now, you've been teaching them that you're okay with pain, with silence, with second place. Fix that. You ever wonder why the quiet ones are feared? Why the cold ones are respected? It's not because they're violent. It's because they don't react. They don't get pulled into drama. They don't chase closure. They let people walk and never look back. That scares the hell out of people. Because silence is louder than begging. Indifference cuts deeper than anger. You don't need to scream to prove your value. You just need to stop giving it away to people who never deserved it. Be cold. That's the lesson no one teaches you. Because everyone's too busy telling you to be kind. Kindness without boundaries is self-destruction. Think of it like this. Your time, your love, your energy. It's currency. Every time you spend it on someone who doesn't value it, you're going broke. And when you're emotionally bankrupt, they'll disappear. They always do. That's when you realize they were only there when it was easy, when it was convenient, when you were useful. Be cold. Stop being their backup plan. Stop being the one they turn to after they ruin everything else. You are not the aftermath. You're not the just in case. You are the storm. And it's time you start acting like it. You keep saying you're tired. I've heard it in your voice. seen it in your eyes, watched it bleed through your silence. But the truth is, you're not just tired. You're drained. Drained from giving chances. Drained from being understanding. Drained from hoping that this time it'll be different. You know what's crazy? You still keep doing it. You hand out your trust like candy, thinking maybe this time they'll handle it with care. They won't. People don't change because you believe in them. They change when they feel consequences. And you've been mercy. You've been forgiveness. You've been the one who never leaves. And what did that get you? Nothing but nights filled with doubt, days filled with questions, and a heart that forgot what peace feels like. You want to stop that cycle? Then stop being warm to people who leave you in the cold. Be colder than they expect. Let them feel what silence sounds like. Let them sit in the absence they created. There's a difference between healing and pretending. You're not healing if you keep stitching your wounds just to reopen them for the same people. That's self-destruction disguised as loyalty. You're not strong just because you endure. Strength is knowing when to stop, knowing when to shut the door, not because you hate them, but because you love your sanity more. Be cold, not out of vengeance, but out of survival. Don't let pain be your habit. Let it be your lesson. Because every tear you dropped, it taught you something. Every time they left and came back like nothing happened, it whispered the truth you didn't want to hear. They don't respect you. Not because you're not worthy, but because you made it too easy to forget your worth. You want to fix that? Be cold. Freeze the access. Lock the door. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table just because they once helped set it. You ever notice how people only remember you when they need something? They vanish when you're silent, but flood your phone when their world falls apart. You're not their peace. You're their pit stop, a safe space they run to when it benefits them. And you think that's love? You think that's loyalty? That's convenience. That's dependency. That's exploitation wrapped in temporary affection. You've been too soft for too long, too forgiving, too available. They know that no matter what they do, you'll still be there. And that's the problem. You became predictable. You became the one they know they can break, and you'll still smile like nothing happened. That ends now. You don't need to yell. You don't need to argue. Just vanish. Be cold. Let absence be your answer. Let silence scream your boundaries. Because when you stop reacting, they start reflecting. You think cutting someone off is cruel. What's cruel is them watching you break, knowing they're the reason, and still choosing not to care. What's cruel is pretending to love someone while treating them like they're disposable. So, no. Walking away isn't cold-hearted. It's survival. It's choosing peace over chaos. It's saying, I love myself enough to stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand me a bandage. That's not weakness. That's clarity. That's strength. And if they try to make you feel guilty for finally choosing yourself, let them choke on that silence. You've been their crutch, their emotional trash can, their comfort zone. Now it's time you be your own savior. You can't save people who enjoy drowning. You can't heal people who keep reopening your wounds. So be cold. Not because you don't care, but because you finally care about yourself. You've been waiting for someone to understand you, haven't you? Waiting for someone to really sit with you in your silence and say, I see you. But here's the truth. You don't want to admit. No one's coming. No one's going to hold your hand through your breakdown. No one's going to fix what you've buried under fake smiles and quiet nights. That's your job. And I know it hurts to accept that. I know it's bitter. But the sooner you swallow that pill, the quicker you stop starving for validation. See, people aren't built to carry what you carry. They'll tell you, stay strong, not because they care about your strength, but because they don't want to deal with your weakness. That's the kind of world you live in. They'll clap when you're glowing and disappear when you dim. So, if you're waiting on love to save you, forget it. Be cold. Save yourself. Pick up your own pieces. Wipe your own tears. Stitch your own soul. That's what power looks like. Not needing anyone to do for you what you can learn to do in silence. Let me tell you something that'll sting. You've been addicted to potential, not reality. You keep loving what people could be instead of who they are. You saw red flags and called them roses. You saw patterns and called them mistakes. You keep rewriting someone's character in your head to make them easier to love. That's why you keep getting hurt. Because you're not in love with the truth. You're in love with the idea. But ideas don't hold you at night. Ideas don't fix lies. Be cold. See people for who they really are, not for who you wish they'd be. And when someone shows you they don't respect you, believe them the first time. Don't ask for proof twice. Don't wait for the next betrayal. You've been giving people loyalty they didn't earn, forgiveness they didn't deserve, and pieces of yourself you couldn't afford to lose. That's not noble. That's reckless. That's emotional suicide. So stop. Be cold enough to say, I see you for what you are, and I'm done pretending you're better than that. You ever wonder why you're exhausted even after doing nothing all day? That's not laziness. That's mental fatigue, emotional damage, soul exhaustion. You've been carrying pain you never spoke about, smiling through storms no one saw, fighting battles no one acknowledged. That kind of weight doesn't just vanish. And the worst part, you've trained yourself to suffer quietly, to make pain look like peace. But you can't keep doing that. You can't keep burying yourself alive just to keep others comfortable. You think suffering in silence makes you strong? It doesn't. What makes you strong is knowing when to shut the door, when to say, I'm not doing this anymore, and mean it. You owe that to yourself. You owe that to the kid version of you who was always told to be quiet, to behave, to shrink. No more shrinking. Be cold. Stand tall. Speak less. Move smarter. Cut people off without warning. Block energy that drains you. That's not arrogance. That's protection. That's what surviving looks like when the world keeps trying to bury you. Look around. Everyone's busy trying to impress people who wouldn't even show up to their funeral. That's the game now. We fake happiness fake strength, fake confidence, just to keep up. But for what? For likes? For claps? For people who'd replace you in a heartbeat if it benefited them? Be real with yourself. Most people aren't loyal. They're just around until it's no longer convenient. The second you stop benefiting them, they vanish. That's not friendship. That's usage. That's dependence. You keep expecting honesty from people who lie to themselves every day. You want truth from mouths that only speak when it suits them. That's your mistake. You think your heart can change people. It can't. You think your consistency will make them stay. It won't. You think if you just give more, they'll finally see your worth. They won't. So stop bleeding for people who watch you suffer and still sleep peacefully. Be cold, not because you're cruel, but because they were, and you finally learned to mirror the silence they gave you. You keep waiting for the closure that's never coming. Let me make something clear. Most people will hurt you, walk away, and never look back. Not because they didn't care, but because they never had the capacity to. You keep thinking if you explain your pain enough, they'll finally understand. But the truth is, they understood. They just didn't care enough to fix it. And you? You're still stuck replaying conversations that didn't matter to them. Still rewriting endings to stories they've already closed. That's why you're suffering. Because you keep trying to find justice in situations that were never built on fairness. Not everything broken deserves to be repaired. Some things deserve to be buried. And some people deserve to lose you without explanation, without a farewell, without a final message. That's what being cold is. It's not revenge. It's not bitterness. It's peace in the form of distance. It's saying, I saw everything. I felt everything. And I still chose to disappear quietly. That silence will scream louder than any goodbye you could have said. You want to know how people test you? They take advantage of your kindness and watch if you flinch. They cross boundaries slowly, inch by inch, just to see if you'll say something. And if you don't, they keep pushing. That's how they learn what they can get away with. You taught them you'd stay even when it hurts, that you'll keep giving even when it breaks you. So they stopped respecting you. It's not that they don't know better. It's that they don't have to. Not when you keep letting them off the hook. But that ends now. From this moment on, you don't explain your value. You don't beg to be chosen. You don't argue to be heard. You observe. You listen. You withdraw. And when someone steps wrong, you cut ties like it's nothing. Not to be cruel, but to protect your peace like it's sacred. Be cold. Let them call you heartless. Let them say you've changed. Good. You were never meant to stay soft for people who only gave you reasons to become harder. Let me hit you with something real. You're not behind in life because of bad luck. You're behind because you keep hesitating. You keep doubting yourself. You keep waiting for perfect moments, perfect conditions, perfect people to walk in and save you. But life doesn't reward the hesitant. It doesn't reward the soft-spoken dreamer who's too afraid to take the shot. It rewards the cold ones, the quiet executors, the unbothered grinders, the ones who show up every day without applause. You keep thinking emotions make you human. Maybe, but they also make you vulnerable. And right now, vulnerability is a luxury you can't afford. Not when your back's against the wall. Not when the world's trying to watch you fold. So be cold. Be calm. Be calculated. Make silence your strategy. Let your actions speak volumes. Let your progress slap every mouth that ever doubted you. You don't need to yell. You don't need to prove. You just need to move. Quietly. Ruthlessly. Consistently. That's how ghosts become legends. You keep blaming yourself for how they treated you. Stop. It's not your fault they lacked the depth to value something rare. Some people are so used to fake. They reject real. They confuse peace with boredom. They crave chaos because it reflects who they are. You were never the problem. You were just the mirror. You showed them who they really are. And that scared them. So they ran. Or worse, they tried to destroy you. And you let them. You sat there and let their damage become your identity. You started questioning your worth because someone broken couldn't see it. But let me tell you something. Just because they couldn't love you right doesn't mean you weren't lovable. It just means they weren't built to handle something pure. So stop mourning people who were never equipped to hold you. Be cold. Wipe your tears. Fix your crown. And never again hand it to someone who only sees value in you when you're on your knees. You were never meant to be someone's maybe. You were meant to be someone's silence after they realized they lost everything. You want to win in life. Then stop playing by the rules made for people who want to be liked. That's not your game anymore. The ones who rise, they're not the loudest. They're not the friendliest. They're the most focused, the most controlled. The ones who don't flinch when they're hated, don't bend when they're doubted, don't collapse when they're alone. And that's where you need to be. Alone. Cold. Unreachable. People can't destroy what they can't access. That version of you, the one who explains himself, tries to fix everyone, tries to keep every bridge alive even while it's burning. That version dies now. It got you hurt. It got you used. It got you delayed. But this new version, the one that doesn't pick up every call, doesn't answer every question, doesn't seek approval, that version builds empires in silence. That version walks into rooms with a presence that doesn't beg for respect. It demands it. Be that version. Be cold. Not because you're angry, but because peace demands distance. Because elevation requires isolation. You don't grow when you're comfortable. You grow when you start acting like the world owes you nothing. And you owe yourself everything. You keep telling yourself, I don't want to become like them. But let me explain something. There's a difference between becoming heartless and becoming untouchable. Between being cruel and being calculated. You don't have to lose your soul. You just need to protect it. You don't need to be fake. You need to be quiet. Watch more, react less, listen more, explain less. And when someone disrespects your value, let the silence speak. Let your absence echo. Because if you keep responding, keep explaining, keep proving, you're feeding their control. The most dangerous man isn't the one who reacts to everything. It's the one who reacts to nothing. That's what you need to be. Cold like a locked vault. Still like a loaded weapon. Calm like a man who already knows the outcome. You don't need to scream to be heard. You need to move so differently that they never get the chance to disrespect you again. Let me break this myth for you. Love doesn't fix people. Pain does. You think being soft is going to teach them to change? Number. They'll only learn when you stop being their comfort. When you become the silence they have to live with. That's when growth starts. When they feel what it's like to lose you. Not because you yelled, not because you begged, but because you disappeared. That's when they understand the gravity of who you were. But by then, it's too late. And that's the kind of ending you need to start giving people. Stop giving closure to those who gave you confusion. Stop explaining your pain to those who caused it. Be cold. Let them sit in the chaos they created. Let them feel the echo of every unanswered message, every call you ignored, every moment you chose peace over pain. That's how you teach them, not by talking, by leaving. I'll tell you why most people stay stuck. Because they confuse being numb with being healed. But numb isn't peace. It's the quiet before you break again. True peace comes from choosing yourself, even when it hurts. From walking away, even when you still care. From saying, I'm done, and meaning it. Not as a threat, not as a test, but as a fact. You want to heal? Then you have to be colder than the lies they told, stronger than the guilt they fed you, and quieter than the noise they left behind. You don't owe anyone your ruin. You don't owe anyone the version of you that keeps bleeding just to keep the connection alive. What you owe is loyalty to your future. And that future doesn't include apologizing for growing harder. It doesn't include shrinking for people who never clapped for you. Be cold. And when they try to guilt you for it, just remember this. The same people who called you soft, laughed when you broke. The same ones who said you changed, never appreciated who you were. So let them talk. Let them lie. Let them miss you, but never ever go back. You ever ask yourself why you keep falling into the same cycles, same betrayals, same lessons, different faces, same disappointment? It's because you're too warm in a world that's built on cold decisions. You keep giving people space they didn't earn, chances they didn't deserve, time they didn't respect. And you do it all in the name of being real. But what's real is this. People don't value what's free. And you've been handing yourself out like a free sample. Every time they ignore you, you still show up. Every time they cross the line, you redraw it further back. And now you wonder why nobody takes you seriously. It's because you taught them they don't have to. Be cold. Be the lesson they never saw coming. Be the one that walked away when they thought you never would. Be the silence that haunts their comfort. And don't do it out of pride. Do it because self-respect ain't something you ask for. It's something you demand by how you move, how you respond, how you disappear the second they show you they never deserved you. You want to know how powerful you really are? Stop texting first. Stop checking on people who never check on you. Stop carrying conversations that would die if you didn't breathe life into them. Stop running after people who only look back to make sure you're still behind them. That's when the shift happens. That's when the fear sets in. When they realize you're no longer begging to be seen. When they realize you can live without them and live better. That's what being cold means. Not revenge, not bitterness, just pure silence, pure indifference. You think fire is power? Remember, ice is stronger. Fire screams, ice endures. Fire burns and fades, ice remains. So be ice, be cold. Let their ego freeze when they see you glow without them. Let their pride crack under the weight of your absence. That's how you hit hardest, by becoming unreachable. You keep chasing closure like it's a cure. But let me tell you something real. Closure isn't something they give you. It's something you give yourself when you finally accept they were never sorry. They just regret getting caught. Regret losing access. Regret not being able to manipulate you anymore. But regret isn't the same as remorse. And forgiveness doesn't mean reopening the door. Forgiveness is for you. For your peace. But peace doesn't mean contact. Peace doesn't mean conversations. Sometimes peace means deleting the number and never looking back. Blocking them like they never existed. And that's not childish. That's necessary. That's cold. And in a world where everybody's pretending to be strong, being cold enough to walk away and never explain yourself, that's real strength. That's healing in its rawest form. So stop romanticizing people who shattered you. Stop hoping they'll fix what they broke. The same hand that broke you cannot heal you. Remember that. You know what's rare? A person who moves in silence and lets results do the talking. You keep telling people what you're building. You keep showing your plans, your dreams, your wounds, and they're watching. Not because they care, but because they're waiting to see if you fail, waiting to feed on your insecurities, waiting to use your vulnerabilities against you. That's the world. That's people. Don't let the fake smiles fool you. Most people don't clap because they're happy for you. They clap because it hides the envy. So shut up and work. Shut up and evolve. Shut up and win. Be cold. Keep your moves quiet and your energy pure. You don't need an audience for your glow up. You need discipline. And you don't owe updates to people who doubted you. Let your silence be the punchline. Let your distance be the closure. And when you finally become what they never believed you could be, don't say a word. Just keep walking. Cold, calm, untouchable. Let's talk about loyalty for a second. You think you've been loyal, right? Always there. Always reliable. Always giving people the benefit of the doubt. But let me ask you, how many of those people would show up if you had nothing to offer? If you were at your lowest? Loyalty isn't about showing up when it's easy. It's about staying when it's dark. And most of the ones you call friends or partners, they're only loyal to the version of you that's useful to them. The moment you stop entertaining, stop helping, stop giving, they fade, and you still call it loyalty. No, that's convenience. That's dependency. That's conditional presence. So stop romanticizing their presence. Start paying attention to who's clapping for you when you're winning versus who's standing next to you when you're broken. You've been loyal to people who would leave you for a text from someone more popular. Loyal to people who gossip about you in rooms you'll never enter. And still, you defend them. Still, you show up. That's not loyalty. That's self-abandonment. Be cold. Stop apologizing for choosing yourself. Start leaving when energy shifts. Start walking away when actions don't match words. Start being loyal to your own peace. You keep saying you want change, but let's be honest. You're still entertaining the same pain. Still letting the same kind of people back in with new faces. Still lying to yourself about who deserves access to your space. You don't need motivation. You need discipline. You need clarity. You need the guts to say enough and mean it. You want growth? Then outgrow your weakness for temporary feelings. Outgrow your need to fix what keeps breaking. Outgrow your addiction to chaos disguised as love. Be cold. Cut ties with your old habits, even if they feel comfortable. Comfort zones are graveyards. They feel safe, but they kill progress. They kill ambition. They kill the real you. That version of you that wants to rise, it's buried under apologies, overthinking, and wasted loyalty. Dig it out. Be cold enough to walk away from everything soft that keeps making you weak. Let me tell you something else. They only love you when you're silent, when you're obedient, when you don't challenge them. The second you start setting boundaries, the second you start saying no, they label you cold, toxic, distant. Let them. That's how you know you're evolving. Growth looks like isolation. It looks like solitude. It looks like long nights where you feel like nobody understands you. And that's okay. Because in that silence, you'll find yourself. The real you. Not the version they manipulated. Not the version that shrinks to keep others comfortable. The version that stands tall in silence. That makes moves in the dark. That builds in the shadows. And when that version rises, there's no turning back. You won't need them. You won't crave them. You won't break over them. Be cold. Let them call it arrogance. Let them say you've changed. You have. And that's the point. You didn't survive all this just to stay soft for people who never gave a damn about you. And now, let's talk about silence. You keep thinking your words will change people, that if you just explain it better, they'll get it. They won't. Words don't change people. Experiences do. Pain does. Absence does. Your silence is more powerful than any message you could write. Let them talk. Let them twist the narrative. Let them think they won. And while they waste energy running their mouth, you'll be building. Quietly. Strategically. Far away from the drama. Far away from the noise. Be cold. Stop justifying your distance. Stop feeling guilty for growing. You owe nobody an explanation for your peace. not your family, not your friends, not your past. You're not selfish. You're evolving. And evolution requires separation. You're not rude. You're focused. And focus requires disconnection. Remember, people will always have something to say when they can no longer control you. Let them. You've got bigger things to build. In silence, in solitude, in power.